I wanted to talk about us. Right now we're in what? We're in May.
Yeah.
We've got exactly 1 month
Mhm.
before our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Mhm.
Anniversary of how we first met. 1 year ago, did you think you'd be engaged?
Oh my gosh. No. 1 year ago, no, not at all. I mean, I could not have predicted how things have happened, the events that have occurred in the past year, no.
No, at all.
At all. I mean, I was praying for it, but you pray and you leave things in God's hands, and when they unfold, it's like, what?
When it happens, it happens.
I mean, yeah, that was my attitude, pray and leave it in God's hands, but I did not expect, things to happen.
I actually did not think so. I did not think I'd be engaged. I think 1 year ago, I was in a very tumultuous relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to bounce, I wanted to chomoka. I didn't know how to. Funny enough, I was going to leave either way, but yeah, I was going to leave either way, that relationship. But I mean, it was easier knowing that Shiko was there.
Was it?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask you questions?
Yeah.
Okay, do you think if we had never met, you would have ended up being single in the timeline that you then became single? So when I met him, he was going through a lot of turmoil. And then after that relationship ended is when we started dating. But there was a period of turmoil. How do you think meeting me played into that situation?
It didn't actually. Like, my leaving had absolutely zero to do with you. You were just probably an added bonus.
Welcome to my channel. So that was a soundbite from radio presenter Mike Mondo and content creator Shiko Nguru's podcast. So I spoke about this couple 4 months ago when they came out to defend their relationship because they were receiving a lot of backlash from netizens. And that's because they thought the two of them were disrespecting Rama, who happens to be Shiko's ex and the father of her two sons. So I'm going to link that video below and on the end screen. So that podcast was launched on Mother's Day, which is like 3 weeks ago. And so far, they've uploaded 3 episodes. So on the first episode, where I extracted that intro soundbite from, you've heard how Mike was stressing how his last breakup had nothing to do with Shiko. They've also confirmed they're engaged to be married. He went on to describe how they met and how they bonded over parenting because Shiko happens to have 3 children, a daughter who is 13 from her first marriage and 2 sons by Rama. And Mike also has 2 kids. I think they are daughters by 2 different women. So Mike also went on to describe how he proved to be Superman to Shiko, like when he managed to get hold of Boys to Men concert tickets, yet the show was sold out. He also said Shiko acted as a therapist to him when they first met because he used to offload a lot of his problems with the previous woman onto her. He also revealed on June of 11th, it's going to be their 1-year anniversary, and they've already moved in together. Shiko also gave a rundown of her previous relationships.
Huyo simwachile. In fact, mpatie ball sahi.
Excuse.
Like, it's a thing. So let no man lie to you. A guy who's, for example, been with you, engaged to you for over, I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, and you're still engaged. bro.
Or not engaged at all.
Or even not engaged at all. And you want to settle down. You want that marriage, that relationship, that family. He knows. If he doesn't know, then he'll prolong it for as long as he can while he keeps testing the waters.
Honestly, it's only at this age where I can say when you know, you know. But even then, for me, I got married when I was 22. I didn't know anything, but I can only say that in retrospect.
Yeah.
Right? What did I know about anything?
Nothing. In fact, if you're 22, what are you doing getting married?
I was engaged at 21. I definitely didn't know anything. I mean, I had literally just finished college. So that marriage, I think, ended purely because I was a child and I didn't know what I was saying yes to. I wanted stability. I was in the US. I just needed the stability pretty much. And the place that I lived in, it was a running joke. Like after, the year of your senior year of uni, you get your MRS degree, your Mrs. degree. Like you get a ring on your finger. It was like ring by spring of your senior year. I did not know anything ultimately. And then, so someone might ask, how do you know now? So that time I admit I didn't know. My second major relationship, which happened within a year. So I was married for 7 years, single for 2 years, in another relationship for 6 years. I've basically been in 2 relationships since I was 18 and I'm 38.
She said her age.
I'm very proud of my age. So 18 to 38, that's 20 years. Yeah. I've been in 2 relationships, 2 long relationships. And so a question I get a lot is, how do you know this one? I mean, honestly, like by now you should be so jaded, which a lot of men and women are,
Yeah.
But what I'm feeling is that you learn from the
you have
past.
to unlearn and learn.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of things.
So I've learned and unlearned a lot. And for the first time in those 20 years, I went to a super Christian uni, but I can honestly say for the first time in 20 years, we have put God at the center of this relationship.
Yeah.
So it feels different. I had a pact I made with God. I've talked about this a lot, where when I was single, this past time during those 2 years in the streets, I was like, look, God, you're going to have to take every man who is not for me away from him. Like just make him act a fool, give him like another chick, like just take them away from me and only bring the one that you want for me. And so I made a list and I was like, this is only me and you, God, know about this list. If he has all of these things, then I'll know he's from you. Then it'll be like our little secret. I'll be like,
How many items did I take off the list? I remember you told me this once.
I did. I still have the list. So in case you start dropping in things, in case you start losing points, I can be like, you had a lot.
I must have made it to over half.
I call it my burning bush man because Moses and the burning bush, like he needed a sign and God gave him a sign he couldn't miss. So I was like, when you bring me a man, I need a sign and it has to be a sign that I can't miss.
Yeah.
You want me to read them out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Knows how to speak my love languages. Family focused. Titan of his industry or master of his craft. Sexually attractive to me. Intelligent and goal oriented. Thoughtful and kind about my life, my emotions, my goals, my problems. Generous with his time, energy, and money. I decided I'm going to say everything I want, like as trivial as it seems.
There, you've chopped it.
Mature, emotionally stable, and self-aware. Doesn't need me to get pregnant or have his babies.
Amen.
Amen.
We are not doing any more of that.
Listen, and as dating at 38, you still find men who want you to have their babies, and you're like, bro, that ship done sailed. Okay.
So you've heard how Shiko stressed she doesn't want to have more babies, and Mike also thinks he doesn't want more kids. But that's a bit tricky because at the moment he's having visitation issues with his second child because he had a very strenuous relationship with the second baby mama. And their first baby mama might also decide to follow suit because Mike has decided to marry Shiko. Because, there's that jealousy thing. Because I remember Mike said he didn't really have a relationship with that first baby mama. So she'll be like, if I wasn't good enough for you to even propose to, why should I be playing ball with you? Shiko, I can understand. She's already had 3 children and she's now 38. So for a woman, it's different. So another thing that came up was the fact that these kids' fathers are involved, as in Shiko's children's fathers are involved in their lives. So even if Mike thinks he's going to treat Shiko's kids as his own, he can't take over completely or he can't claim them fully. So another thing that stuck up was the fact that Shiko required a Christian man this time around, because if you remember, Rama is or was practicing Islam when they were dating. So I think she's learned from that experience, because when you're young, you tend to overlook differences like religion or political alliances. So you tend not to be as religious. So as you grow old, you might want to practice your faith. And then if you have children and you profess different religions, that could become a point of friction because one parent might want their child to follow their religion while the other one wants them to follow theirs. So on the second episode, Mike focused on stating how the toxic relationship affected him to a point that he thought of deleting himself, but he decided not to when he thought about his children. Shiko also talked about the financial mess she was left in after leaving the last relationship. Those who don't know, Shiko used to reside in Nairobi with Rama and their kids. Then sometime during COVID, Rama decided to relocate to Malindi abruptly, and Shiko followed with her children. Then afterwards, they broke up. So let's just hear what Shiko endured and how she decided to break up with him.
Yeah.
As it did for me, it's going to come with that stigma.
Yeah.
As it does for most single moms. So in that moment of am I leaving, am I staying, there's so many things you're thinking of, and all of them are very real and very true, and so easy to feel trapped.
For you, what is it that pushed you over the edge? The world doesn't know your story like the way I know it, but here's the thing. What is that thing that, clicked to you? Like for me, it was almost deciding to commit suicide. What was it for you that pushed you over the edge and you said, you know what, I cannot be here anymore? So
I think like most relationships that fail or that end, in hindsight, you can always see, there were signs, there were red flags that maybe you missed that spoke to incompatibility and other things. So of course, in retrospect, you can say, hey, this relationship had been ending for like a straight year before it finally ended. But if I was to talk about the moment that for me did it, so obviously like most women who are in relationships, or even men, let me just broaden it up, you will fight for it for a while. You won't just throw in the towel, especially if you've been with someone for a good amount of time. Maybe you have kids, you will fight for it. But the moment for me where I completely reeled back from the fighting and just moved into another space of, okay, I need to leave, it was one particular night where I didn't feel physically safe. You would think that is what did it, but it was actually calling my parents in the middle of the night. It was like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And hearing the panic in their voices sort of scared me because I was like, because
when you're in it, you don't see it. Right? You don't see it. You're there, and everyone else around you can tell that,
this is not okay. I mean, there was my parents did that in the middle of the night. My brother at one point asking me, like, which one of your friends can I fly out to where you are to come and get you? We had some members of staff in the house, like housekeeper, nanny, who literally pulled me aside, like, Mama, you're not okay. You're like locking doors behind you. You are wasting away. You've lost so much weight. Like, this is not safe. And then now, like, my parents saying, lock the doors and carry a whistle around your neck. And then, of course, because my dad is an academic, he's like, hide your degrees. I mean, stuff that now you have like an out of body experience and you're like, okay, I need to listen to what other people might be seeing that I can't see in this moment. And just listen to what they're saying.
And funny enough that you mentioned about, like, in hindsight that you could see the signs. That's something we actually fail to understand because the signs usually are there. Even in my case, I look at it in hindsight sometimes and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, the normal me would have seen that. If I saw that in a friend of mine, I'd be like, hey, brah. And then it's only after the breakup occurs that people also start telling you more things, and they start telling you things like, I wanted to say something, but I just had to keep it to myself.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So why do you think we don't see signs? Like, we know something is unhealthy. We are smart individuals, like both of us. I mean, we obviously are emotionally intelligent. What is it?
I mean, maybe love blinds to an extent because we were both deeply in love in the relationships we were in. Maybe love blinds to an extent. I was having this conversation with two ladies this weekend who both were in long-term relationships that didn't work out. And I was telling them, like, right now, when I look back, the flags were bright red. Bright red. Like, what's wrong with me? And they're like, Shiko, you have to give yourself grace. Because obviously, hindsight, you can see now. But unless they're obvious deal breakers, I feel like there are some signs that are more insidious. They're not as obvious. So those ones, I don't blame myself. I'm trying not to blame myself for missing those ones. So I think love blinds, and also sometimes it's not as obvious. Some things creep up and they start out small, but then they grow more and more serious and devastating.
The one thing that I also got really scared of when leaving my ex was my ability to see my child. I mean, and I know it happens very differently for men and women. Most of the time, you'll find that the woman goes with the kids and the man has to now do that whole visitation thing. Do you, as women, also have that fear? Like, okay, I'm going with the kids. Okay, now I know I have the kids. Like, is there a fear that, what about their relationship with their dad? Because now this is going, right?
Right.
Yeah, our relationship is done. Me and that person, it's over.
Yeah.
But do ladies ever think like, okay, I want my kids to also know their dad?
Of course. I know there's this stereotype out there that women will go with the kids and not let them see the dads and like will nima access on purpose. But I know a lot of single moms, and I can tell you for free, there's not one case where I have seen that.
Yeah.
Except like one case. But as a mom, you want your children to have a relationship with their biological father. And it's something that I've done with my children and something I will always do.
Okay, over there, Shiko is stressing how she encourages the ex to see his kids. But judging from what Rama has been posting on his IG stories, I don't think there's a peaceful co-parenting situation. Right after the first episode of that podcast was uploaded, he posted Steve Harvey. He said, "You can't shame the shameless." Another one who had Nicki Minaj and Meek Mill. The caption read, "This face women make when they're walking, sitting, or standing beside a man who doesn't know his place." I think Rama was firing shots at Mike Mondo. The next one was Happy Mother's Day to all the moms keeping positive role models around their kids. Your sons will inherit the behaviors and habits of the man you keep around them the most. That's another shot at Mike Mondo. Another one read, "And fellas, please never reach your 40s with so little reparenting experience. You think denying kids access to a present parent is hurting the parent. That only punishes and hurts the child. You can ask any random psychologist from your past if you have ever gone for therapy." And the last IG story post was of Jovial. She's a musician who is also going through co-parenting struggles with her baby daddy. So Jovial wrote, "She's pretty smart. She repeated what I said." Oh, okay, those are Rama's captions. "She's pretty and smart. She repeated what I said. I was silent for 6 months until I realized I'm getting weekly judgment or unsolicited advice from people who have no context. Go for therapy or spend time with yourself before you have kids." So Jovial's captions were, "Co-parenting has got to be one of the most draining things. One party is usually still bitter. Wakidhani, they are getting back to you when the real victim is the child. I had the option of becoming a bully like 50 Cent too, but that's not helpful to my kids. I did it once on a podcast and never gave context for why. My kids will see the court documents and excuse me one day. I never said I was a perfect man, but I know what is best for them. So it seems like Rama has issues with the co-parenting schedule they have, if at all there is any. So I'm going to also link a video I did on Rama that was around 4 months ago when he sent a cease and desist letter to Mike Mondo after he posted his sons on his social media platforms.
Relationship with certain wounds and scars.
Yeah.
And some of them will wear off before you meet your next person. Some of them won't. But maybe some of them shouldn't. Like if you've been in an abusive relationship, the next relationship, of course, you will be more alert to red flags, as you should be.
Yeah.
If you've been cheated on, if you've been disrespected, if you've had a partner who doesn't fulfill a role for you that you feel men should fulfill,
Yeah.
Protector, leader. The next time you meet a guy in the first 30 minutes, you'll be like, yeah, I know you're a joker and anybody got time for that. So I feel like some things are wounds that should heal before you move to the next relationship. Other things are scars to remind you of what's important. And you shouldn't forget them. I think.
Yeah, I guess there are those scars you can carry and say, like, they're lessons learned.
Exactly.
Let's not even call them a scar.
Yeah, they're lessons. And everyone should learn from their experiences. You just went through a breakup, a toxic relationship. This is what you've learned. But there are some things that are hang-ups that you should probably let go of because it's not fair to the other person.
Do you feel like you carried anything?
I think there must be. If you were to name one that is not too personal, my gosh.
That's not too personal. I think in the initial stages, when we were now officially dating and everything, subconsciously, you expected me to like kind of take over immediately from, where your ex left off. Like there were certain routines you had in life, right? And you had me jump into them like from the get-go. And I remember I felt like at that point, I'm also going through my shit, and I'm going through a similar journey, basically. But it's kind of like you had these rules and like I had to do this at this time, or that constant need for communication or reassurance that, this is real and this is happening and this is our future for the next few years. And I feel like initially you put in so much expectation. Yeah, a lot of it, and it used to catch me by surprise. And sometimes it was almost like I want this guy to be my ideal man now. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna wait, I'm not gonna give him time to even have a second thought at all. And I felt like maybe that's something because of the disappointment that you were coming from. You had set these rules to protect you from that disappointment.
Yes. So that I know if you cannot meet this standard, I know very quickly.
Like this is not going to work.
This is not going to work. If he cannot be the kind of man that I need him to be, I don't want to waste another 7 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was kind of that feeling like I don't want to be disappointed again. I don't want to be shocked that someone can't be the man I want him to be. I want to know now.
Guys.
Ouch. That's a short drama.
Let me tell you, it was so intense. I think the early days, we used to fight a lot. Like we would have arguments and it used to be over the silliest things.
Yeah, it used to be over tiny things.
Tiny little things.
Like now I look back and I'm
like, really? We were fighting over that?
Yeah.
And then I remember when we used to have our arguments.
He is not saying he was in HDU.
Yeah, I was in HDU. And I thought it was just a normal thing. Like I'm just in hospital, I'm going to get treated and leave. And the fact that you were there, you knew this information. She didn't share it with me, by the way. She told me way after. Then I thought about it and I was like, wow, how did she keep it together, knowing the emotional person?
I am very emotional, and the doctor had to pull me aside and be like, you're going to have to be strong for him because we can't tell him how bad things are and you can't show because it'll get worse. So you have to keep it from him. We're just going to tell him this when actually this is how serious it is.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but of course, because I love you so much, I held my tears. What I did tell you was that I was so distracted during the week when he was in HDU. I had an accident. Y'all, I've not even had an accident since I don't even remember.
Well, yeah.
I had an accident, like a little fender bender. Like my mind was just, I don't know.
But thinking about it now in hindsight, now that gives me the comfort of knowing, she would do that for me. Yeah. So it showed me how important I am to you. And so I don't have those intrusive thoughts as much anymore. Like if you told me you were going out nowadays, all I just want to know is, at what time are you coming back? That's the kind of information probably I'd want. Who you went to.
So this is where Mike decided to trust Shiko fully.
Getting less and less and less.
Yeah, I think healing is made harder when you have a terrible relationship with your fellow co-parent and your ex. I did not struggle with my ex-husband.
Yes.
The healing process looked very different because from the very beginning, we had a very amicable relationship.
Yes.
And so healing didn't have that aspect of fighting and arguing. You know what I mean? That was before the breakup. After the breakup, it was acceptance. And we knew we both put the child first. We trusted each other enough to know that. So there was no fighting. Yes, there was kind of thing, over what? Like we were so on the same page about what was best, for her. But when healing has to happen and you have to keep forgiving someone who maybe you feel at the time doesn't even deserve that forgiveness, it's hard. It's like reopening a wound. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you keep getting scarred over. Like before the scab has formed, it's ripped open again by another fight, another argument. And for sure, I do think difficult co-parenting dynamics get easier as
time
goes by.
That sounds like a short drama.
For the ones that start out difficult.
Yeah.
And so I hope that when that happens, things are easier to not get triggered. There'll be no reason to get triggered. Now when things are so volatile, I prefer to just talk through the lawyers. And I think that's easiest for everyone.
Yeah, that is true. Because then at least there's a buffer.
Yes.
Yeah, that prevents a lot of potentially bad situations happening.
Exactly.
Do you fear though? Do you get scared? For example, kids grow up.
Yeah.
Right? Eventually they grow up and they have minds of their own. Does it stand as a fear, even as now you've healed, we're married, we've moved on, it's now, let's say, the kids are in their late teens and everything, and they want to stay with your ex? Do you have that fear, first of all? And number two, would it bring back any feelings of scarring or pain that happened from Kitambo?
I don't think so about the pain, but obviously as a mom, and the way I am as a mom, I'm very attached to my children. So the thought of not seeing them every day kills me. How to this relationship, you will love her and treat her like your baby, and you'll be patient with her, period.
Yeah.
I think those are the most important things.
Do you think women find it unattractive when they meet men who are broken?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think so?
I would say for women who are the ones beginning to date men who are broken, allow that man the space to process his emotions in a raw manner and not feel any shame. Like I've seen you cry.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that. I've seen you miss your daughters terribly. I've seen you get extremely angry at your ex. Being a safe space for your man, for him to feel like, okay, I can go and be vulnerable with her. I can go and tell her everything I'm thinking. I don't have to keep this in. I don't have to solve this myself.
Yeah.
For women, I would say be that safe space for the man who's coming in with wounds and scars from his previous relationship.
I know for me as a guy, I did not care about baby daddy drama. You never sat down and thought to yourself like,
me I'm scared. I'll tell you that for free. I have heard of women having their hair pulled out. I didn't want my locks to be pulled out just by very vicious, angry exes.
Yeah.
So, I was worried because I just didn't know what kind of a situation I was walking into. I mean, you've just said you didn't, you weren't.
No, I wasn't scared.
But that's before you knew the situation was.
Remember the first night we met, we shared a lot about our lives,
true.
And I looked you up, remember?
Yeah.
I even told you, hey, so you're that girl. Okay, good stuff. And I think my fear was what would happen if that whole situation with your ex was so traumatic to you that you shut me out.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what? I don't want to date a guy again. I'm done with these men. Like, all men are trash and that kind of mentality. And then you say, you know what? You bounds. Like that was
like I'm turned off of men forever because
Yes.
of that experience.
Because that would have been ridiculous. But you knowing me, I would not probably have given up.
Yeah, you first of all you wouldn't, and you showed me very early on how different you were from what I had experienced in the past.
Yeah.
So I think it was easy for me to be like, okay, this is the kind of man that I've prayed for. So
That's another shot at drama. So they ended the third episode also. Mike told us how he first told Shiko he loves her, then went on to encourage men to process their feelings after leaving a toxic relationship, which is very ironic because I don't think Mike took time to heal from the last relationship. Then Shiko told us how God has restored tenfold because right now she has a good job, so she's thriving financially. So I'm going to link those 3 episodes below so you can get more context to this relationship. So I want to go back to the old YouTube channel that Shiko ran. So that channel was called Green Calabash, but I think it's currently deleted or deactivated. So what she used to do, she just used to post herself and her kids and Rama doing ordinary stuff. So because I was watching almost all of their episodes, I remember there's this particular episode where Shiko described how she first met Rama. They met at a party, then bonded, decided to date. Then after a few months or a few weeks, they decided to move in together because Shiko wanted to start a serious relationship right away. She had no time to play games. And I wonder whether Rama was ready for a serious relationship. Because you see, for Shiko, she had been married before. So I think she was ready to pick from where she left by playing house with Rama. Then another significant incident I remember is when the family abruptly decided to move to Malindi. So it was around COVID lockdown. So I think it was Rama's decision. So Rama decided to move to Malindi, and because Shiko was homeschooling the kids and she was also working from home, it was easy for her to follow him. So because of that random move, I suspected Rama was trying to free himself from that relationship, which is why when Shiko announced she was single, I wasn't surprised. And this time round, I think she's rushing things with the mic. I wish they could slow things down because they're already engaged to be married, yet Mike has a 4-month-old from a previous relationship, which seems like hasn't been sorted yet, at least from the woman's side. And yes, they've said they are mature enough to know what they want now because Shiko is 38 and I think Mike is 43. So they think they're at a stage of their lives where they know what they want right away. I don't think I'm the only one who is of that idea of them slowing down and reflect on what went wrong in their previous relationships. Because if you check the comment section on that third episode, you can see people agree with my sentiments. So you can see somebody said, I'm not sure if I'll be viewed as someone who is not happy for others. I don't know Mr. Mike or his past, but as a psychologist, I have listened to all the 3 episodes and I'm sensing lots of red flags from both, especially the man. I feel sad for the lady. Shiko, if I was her, I would pause on the marriage part and give this relationship time. I would shield this new relationship from the internet. This will unveil a lot that both don't know about each other. Otherwise, pin this comment for future reference. I agree with most of what that lady has said, but I think it's also a blessing for them to plaster their relationship on the internet because then, in as much as our opinions are unsolicited, they might give them something to think about. Another one said, I love the intro bit. Mike taking charge and introducing Shiko is so sweet. I love that for you, Shiko. A man who takes charge. Well, that's because the relationship is new. Next one, I'm not being a safe space for a man to come and trauma dump on me his wounds. Hiyo advice yako Shiko staki. Watu wapone tu. I'm no longer Barbara the builder. Yeah, she has a point. Because after the man heals, who is to tell he's going to stick around? Maybe he just needs you to be a sponge to absorb all the toxicity. Then the next one says, you didn't shed tears, Mike, because you are already saying Shiko and you knew she would be waiting for you. When you are done with your other relationship, healing takes time, and often it's prudent to spend time with yourself to understand what happened. But generally, men move on quicker with something shiny and often forgetting the damage they left behind, and often heartbreak and children, just like you have. But I do wish you all the best. We all deserve a kind of happy. It sounds like the ex. So the response to that says, I wish them all the best. In my opinion, it is always great to look into the mirror and see what your role was in your former toxic relationship. From the sidelines, I see a lot of red flags, lots of red flags, but I accept I'm on the sidelines, just observing. There's a lot of lessons to learn, and in 5 bad relationships, you're the constant in all of them. So another one said, facts, Mike, walk away, Mondo. The guy just said he walked away from arguments with Shiko. What a clown and a coward. True, you have to assess your role in previous failed relationships or you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes. I hate how men never heal from previous relationships. My current husband did the same. We started dating barely a month after his wife left him. He never did the work. He never assessed why the other relationship ended and improve on himself. It clearly is bleeding into our relationship. On the one hand, I was alone for 1.5 years improving myself before I got with him. Men are always in a hurry. But Shiko is also in a hurry. Same with Shiko. She got together with Rama when he was bleeding. The guy even said he had just gotten out of a relationship and wasn't planning to be in any serious thing. You see, I also caught that until he immediately met Shiko. I left my horse for Shiko, his words. Meanwhile, Shiko had been single for like 2 years before meeting Rama. 7 years later, breakup. Now, after 2 years of Shiko being single, she met another bleeding man, fresh from a breakup. Shiko seems to love rebounds, but good luck. Yeah, you see, I'm not the only one with those sentiments. So I think Mike should sit down and reflect on why the ex was toxic towards the end, because she was pregnant when they were fighting. So he needs to consider if it's her hormones which made her to be that way. And I have a feeling I'm going to be doing another video on the two of them. So just let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Like and share this video. Thank you for stopping by. Consider subscribing if you're not. I'll see you on the next one, and bye for now.